Welcome everyone to this briefing brought to you by the Israel Defense and Security Forum, IDSF. In Hebrew, our name is Habitchonistim. IDSF is the leading Israeli organization advocating for strong national security-oriented policies to guide the state of Israel. We are a movement of more than 20,000 people here in Israel, including many reserve officers, operators from all branches of the Israel Defense Establishment. Thank you, of course, to all of our viewers and supporters for tuning into this briefing, as well as all of our previous briefings. Today's briefing is a little bit different than normal. Today, for much of the day in Ashkelon, IDSF hosted the Israel's Security Summit 2024. Last year, we had a security summit in Jerusalem. This year, very much relevant to the war in Gaza, we did it down south in Ashkelon. And government officials, military leaders, thinkers, and analysts from around the country came together to really dissect, discuss, analyze, and present many different components of this war, the military fronts, the media fronts, the diplomatic fronts, and of course, speaking about the impact of this war here in Israeli society. And the summit was, of course, live streamed in Hebrew. It was recorded, and the recordings will be coming out in the coming days to weeks with English subtitles. As we did with our summit last year, we'll be able to share with you some of these panel discussions with English subtitles. But just to be able to share some of it with you, what I did today at our briefing, at our summit, is I pulled aside a number of our speakers and asked them to share what they shared on stage to share with you. So right now, we're going to bring you a little bit from the summit. I hope you enjoy. I hope you find it interesting. And I ask one favor. If you are in front of your computer and you have the chat function open, when I start playing the broadcast, if someone could just write in, I hear the audio, I don't hear the audio, the picture is going, that would be incredibly helpful so that I can make sure that this all runs smoothly. And with that, give me 1 minute and I will begin the presentation.
Today we organized a very important convention that really goes into the heart of the issues that we're dealing with now in Israel. We talked today about the military campaign. What do we need to do to win against Hamas? Are we on our way? We talked about the military campaign in Lebanon and also in Iran. Then we addressed another very important issue, the day after. The day after will define what will happen in Israel for the next 100 years. It's crucial. The decision making that Israel is going to take in the next year will shape the future not only of Israel, but also of the Jewish world. So we talked about the need to really eradicate Hamas, to bring back the hostages, the need in the future to control the Egyptian border, to have full freedom of operation for the Israeli Defense Forces endlessly, and also about the importance of settling as a long-term solution that will enable the army to function and do what it needs to do in the area of the Gaza Strip. We also are addressing a very important issue, and this issue is the society. How does the Israeli society function? How it will function in the future? We came to this war torn up, but we united now. We understand that we have to win the war, and we have to build a clear vision and future for the Israeli society. We need a resolute, united society with strong Jewish Zionistic values, a society that is willing to sacrifice and serve a meaningful service in the army, but also a happy society, full of culture, music, democracy. We're not going to give up any of those. We can be strong, we can pursue happiness, and also be staunch Jews and Zionists. So this is looking forward. And I must tell you something. Talking to the many commanders and soldiers that are fighting in Gaza, I can tell you 100%. Israel is going to win decisively in Gaza, in the north. We are going to eradicate our enemies. and we're going to build an amazing future for the state of Israel. A golden age will emerge after this war, but to reach this point of prosperity, of peace processes, of a strong Israel, of a strong Jewish world, first, we need to focus, we need to unite, we need to be resolute, and make sure that the win is decisive on all fronts. And here we are empowering today the Israeli society and the Jewish world and saying we're going to make it all together. So let's do it.
Hi, everybody. Well, this is an interesting day that we've had here today. One of the most interesting panels and most important ones in my eyes, and I think also for those of you who check in on our webinar every day, is the international ramifications of the war going on here in Israel. And heading that panel was Dr. Dan Diker, who is the president of the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs, the JCPA, an old friend of mine going way back to the years when he was a journalist. And he ran this panel on the international aspects. The panel is actually called Know Your Arena, the Multi-Front Warfare. So Dan, a little about the panel and what you discussed there.
Danny, it's a pleasure, first of all, speaking with you. You were one of the great representatives of the State of Israel in your moral clarity when you ran the government press office, and you continue that tradition today. What we are talking about right now in continuing the legacy of moral clarity is what we call the second Iranian-Israel war. The first one you and I talked about many years ago, back in 2006, when the Bush administration were begging us to win that war.
Oh, wow, yes.
Victory over the Hezbollah and the Iran and their Iranian paymasters for the future freedom of the West. And this is exactly the situation we find ourselves in today. Unfortunately, there are many in the West, as we discussed in the panel, many leaders, whether it's President Biden, a great friend of Israel, or a Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, or President Macron. Many in the West are confused and think that the central problem in the Middle East is still the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, which is simply not the case. It's the Iranian octopus. Its head is in Tehran. Its tentacles extend to Gaza, to Hezbollah in Lebanon, to, of course, the Houthis in Yemen, to Syria, across the Middle East, Iraq, across the Middle East.
They have all these proxies that are doing their dirty work.
All the proxies are tentacles, but the bowels and the heart and soul of the strategic threat to Israel's existence as a small nation state of the Jewish people is in Tehran. And if we understand that in Israel, and we understand that in the West, we'll be able to fight the war more effectively with the proper international cooperation, collaboration, and assistance. Can you imagine if after 9/11 there were calls in the United States to create a new state in order to appease Al-Qaeda? That is the situation we're in opposite the ISIS-Hamas. We cannot even think about the suicidal possibility of copy-pasting a Iranian a forward base called Gaza into the hills of Judea, Samaria, the West Bank. It's unthinkable.
And it goes beyond that. It goes to these other countries because their war, Israel is just the representative of what in their eyes is the greater evil, the greater Satan,
right,
which is the United States, which basically represents the West.
And they've been saying that for 45 years.
They don't
The question
hide
is, Hamas has been listening. Hamas tried to teach us something on the 7th of October in their immoral clarity, and that is that Hamas, are the executors of Iran's grand strategy, as publicly declared, to destroy the cancerous tumor in the Middle East. That's what Ahmadinejad said in 2005. That's what Ali Khamenei said, and his predecessor, Grand Ayatollah Khomeini, said it in 1979 upon his return from Paris to Tehran. So it is about time that the world listen carefully to what the Iranian regime is saying. Israel is now paying in blood for this Iranian strategy.
But this is what our listeners and our viewers have to understand. It is not just about Israel. We are the representative of your countries, of the Western world here. And their goal is eventually, once they take out Israel, it also encourages them to then pick up a war, which they're already doing against the Western countries.
Absolutely. In fact, Itai Medina said it very much. And, while Itai stayed very much under the radar, those who know his background and know his tremendous decades of experience on the Iranian file per se, and his great familiarity with counterparts in the West, in the security apparatuses dealing with the Middle East know that this war, and you made the very good point just now, there is a perception there is a perception information warfare aspect of it that goes way beyond Gaza, way beyond Hamas, way beyond Israel, and way beyond the immediate warfare arena. This front is only a minor front of a much larger war. And you say it very well, Danny. It's about freedom in the United States. It's the Hamas and the Hezbollah and the Iran have international relations departments that are tremendously sophisticated. They understand legitimacy inversion. They understand how to make Israel look like Nazis and the United States look like stormtroopers. And they understand cognitive warfare, psyops, as well as anyone in the Nazi regime. Right. And Israel is behind that, the wave
I would say it's not only Israel, it's the entire Western world. They don't get it that Israel, also in that warfare, is just a representative of the West. They are able to pull one over all of us, except for our viewers who are getting this information directly from us right now, to understand that there's a greater threat here for all of us. Israel is just a representative, but is a greater threat to the rest of the Western world in the simple battle of good versus evil.
Absolutely. It's darkness versus light. It's good versus evil. It's freedom versus fear society. As Ron Dermer said with Nathan Sharansky in their book, The Case for Democracy, fierce societies versus free societies. And we are right now fighting for the freedom not only of Israel, but of the Western world.
Okay, thank you very much, Dan, and thank you for being a participant in this conference.
Excellent. Thank you very much, you guys.
Again, another one of the aspects of the conference that we held here today is the many issues here in Israel that we're dealing with in the past 111 days already. And we invited Iris Chaim, who has become a major fixture here in the state of Israel, following an unimaginable tragedy. Her son Yotam, Zichrono Livracha, blessed be his memory, was taken by Hamas, taken hostage on the 7th of October, held hostage for several months, and then as if things couldn't be worse than that, on the day when he was attempting to free himself from captivity in a horrible tragedy to many sides, fell and was killed by our own soldiers who identified him and the two other hostages as a threat to them. We have with us here Iris, who is his mother, and she has been able to elevate this tragedy in one of the most influential moments for any of the Israelis here. We've all gone through difficult times here in this past few months. There are no words even to describe. I don't like to compare it to anything else in our history, because this will take a place in its own. But Iris has taken her personal tragedy and the difficult situation of the people here in Israel and has been able to inspire us. And it took me to bring her here to the table today because she stopped by. Her ability to encourage every Israeli is outstanding. So Iris, I want to thank you as an Israeli. Thank you as a father to a soldier who's been fighting, and so you can share with our listeners and our viewers what you said and what you bring to the Israeli people these days.
Hi, thank you. Yes, I don't want to say that I lost my son. I'm carefully thinking about what I'm talking about, what's the words that I'm using. And since Yotam was kidnapped, I decided that I can see him in the hole. In Hebrew, it's bor. It's one word that bor is bet vav resh. But I prefer to see him in the light, which is or in Hebrew. It's difficult in English but in Hebrew, it's sound the same. Or bor. Or is light, bor is hole. And we can fall to the hole, but I want to think about Israel now and my son. When I thought about him, I imagined him in the light all the time. And I'm carefully, like I said, I'm using my word. And I think now we are in a great mission now, in very, very difficult war for our being here, the little thing, just to live. Maybe even not to live good life, to live. And the Hamas want to take this opportunity from us. And there are soldiers, Israeli army, IDF is the best army in the world. And I feel that every soldier that is now fighting is like my son. So when the soldiers shoot Yotam, I couldn't be angry about them. I couldn't. And my husband also, he was also a soldier here. I think everybody that live here in Israel and was a soldier understand that in such battles there is no most of the time we cannot know exactly what's happening there, especially when there are citizens among the civilians, Israeli citizens, kidnapped people. So I'm not judging the army, not the soldiers, not the officers. Even that afterwards we got all the tahqir, the
investigation, the military investigation.
We know that maybe
inquiry.
Maybe they could know, but maybe. So I'm not using the word if, and I think it's weakening me. So I want just to feel better now. I'm talking about Yotam bravery, not about he's like you said, fall. He didn't fall. He went up, and by his brave way to go out of captivity.
It was an amazing story.
Amazing story, which will be remembered for generation. And we need to think about our bravery, not about that we are falling. And I want to change this word.
You're using words, and it's very interesting. Yotam, and your last name is Chaim. And anybody who knows, Chaim in Hebrew is life. You're, in a sense, you're choosing, and you're elevating life to the light.
Yes, it's true. When I'm a nurse, I'm a palliative nurse, and usually, as a palliative nurse, I'm working with end-of-life care. So people are telling me, did you put the last name especially for your job, Chaim? So no, this is my family name, but it's helping me because when I'm working with end of life, I'm in the life, not in the death. So I can see really the life, even in the end, what we can do in a good way, even that we are suffering.
It's part of existence. It doesn't end at the end of our existence. It continues in different ways.
Yes, and I believe that Yotam choose, and I'm also speaking about choices, and that I'm choosing what to think, how to think, what to say, and every minute I'm checking if the words are right for me. Example, now somebody told me that she wants to demonstrate against one decisions of the government. So said, and they said, but why now? You are against separating. This is not you want to.
You don't want to divide the society.
Yeah, you want to unite. She said, I want to unite. I'm sitting with religious people. So I said, okay, so you're united against something. This is not unit. And since the beginning of this battle, I choose to stand with my government. Even that I didn't vote for this government. I think the best thing that we can do now for our nation in Israel is to give back for the decisions of the government, even that sometimes
to support them back there.
Maybe we are not that. Maybe we don't know a lot. We don't know.
I'm sure that the Hamas, they didn't ask your son Yotam Zichrono Livracha. They didn't ask him who he voted for. They didn't ask him who he supported. They didn't ask any of them.
And they didn't ask if he's maniach tefillin b'Shabbat, if he's putting the tefillin in Shabbat, or he's playing the drums in Shabbat.
Or if he eats pork or eats
Yes,
kosher, they didn't
no.
care. They saw us as somebody to destroy regardless of what our personal choices were. They made a choice,
Of course.
and we can make a choice as well.
And I understood that in the 7th of October. Before, I didn't have any connection with the religious people in Israel. I didn't understand them. I didn't want to be with them. But now, I see differently. I know that so many, it doesn't matter, religious, no really. We are all together fighting here just for our lives. And that's what matters.
So it's ironic when they tried to destroy us and you personify that, they actually lit a fire in us and a light in us that is going to defeat them. They ignited us to fight back and understand why we're here.
They want to lower our heads down and that we will fight with each other inside Israel. That's their purpose. And that
To put us in that bowl, in that hole that you were talking about.
Yes. And I say each of us have a responsibility here. We are not, that's what I told also there, we are not guests here. We are the owners. And we have the responsibility of what will be here inside and outside of Israel. But we need to remember this, that there is no a balabait. Balabait, it's not Bibi is a balabait. We are all the balabait, the owners.
We have a heritage and we have a responsibility that
Yes.
comes along with it. Iris, there are no words. There are no words to the strength that you exemplify. I'm proud to be a part of the people that you are such an important part of. I saw people along the way. It took us a long time to bring you here. Everybody wanted to hug you. I need to do it as well.
Okay.
Thank you. Hold on. Another one of the aspects of the conference today was one of the most important elements of the war that's been going on, but especially the 7th of October, when a lot of the female combat soldiers in Israel, and not only the combat soldiers, even though the observers on the border found themselves in combat. And anybody who had any question of the ability in women, there were no doubts after this. They operated and did things in an unimaginable way of bravery and success on that day fighting the terrorists. So we had a special part of the conference today is the security women, and giving a briefing on that was Lieutenant Colonel Shosh Rabban, who's a member of the IDSF, and I think she can explain a little back of her background herself and what she spoke about at the conference.
Well, hello everybody. So again, I'm Shosh Rabban, and I used to be in the army. I served for 20 years. Also in the Shabak, the security forces, for a couple of years. And before everything, I'm a mother of 3 children.
It's the most important part.
Yeah, my oldest one, my daughter, she was a combat soldier. And my son is also a combat soldier in Golani. He's already 3 months in reserves. So he came especially from abroad, from a trip abroad, to serve in this war, and he's still there. And
We're the only country when in war, the people come to the country.
it's amazing.
Yes.
I mean, he did everything to come back,
Where
to
was he?
fight. He was in Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
So he flew especially
Ironic,
to
huh?
Thailand to have a flight with El Al, especially to Israel, to serve with his friends. And he's still there. Hopefully will come in peace, like all the soldiers.
And how are you managing?
I'm trying not to think about it. I think
No, I know.
I think this is the most right war for Israel. So there is no doubt for me that my children have to take part in this war. No matter what, we all have to participate in this war and to win this war and to finish our enemy. No matter what. No matter what the victim, and we pay a big, big price. I will say something about women. I used to be a combat officer too. I was a company commander and then a battalion commander. I served in the field with all the soldiers. It was not so simple. It's not simple. Not for us, not for the men. But after the 7th of October, we can see literally that women can do almost everything. They are a very good combat soldier. They did everything in this war, in the ground forces, in the air, in the sea, and they fought, they killed the enemy, they took part in battles, and they just did everything successfully.
I admit, Josh, I was one of those who had my doubts. I was a combat soldier myself, and I had my questions, and I have only the utmost respect now.
As a woman, I had my doubt too.
Yeah.
But now you can see that
Yes.
they can do many things. I don't want to say everything, but because I
Right.
believe there are differences
Listen,
between
not
us.
not all men can do everything.
Exactly.
As well.
We are not the same. We are not the same, and it's good. But we should let them, I think after this war, many skills will be open for these
Right.
women, and they can do many new things for the country, for the army. Also, I want to say a word about the observation. I don't know how to call the
lookout
women.
observation, intelligence observation posts
Yeah,
along the
intelligent-
border.
Exactly. They were in the
In Hebrew, we call it tatzpitaniot.
Tatzpitaniot, sitting in the Hamal. I don't know if
In the operations room.
in the operations room, and watch when everything, all the technology fell down. They kept looking and observe and report to the forces outside what's happening, where are the terrorists,
They were directing them, and
directing them and everything, until the moment the terrorists came into the operation room and killed almost everybody, all of them. There were 25 soldiers, women soldiers, and only 2 left that came back to their house.
I
And
think
this
it's
is-
important that our viewers understand that these young women knew that we were overrun on that day. They knew that there was the threat. They knew that all the positions were fighting and running out of ammunition. They could have left,
And they didn't.
and they didn't.
Aiden didn't until the last moment.
I get chills thinking about it.
It's just amazing to think about it. The other thing I would like to say in this opportunity is that I used to work in organize the army, the ground forces, for almost 5 years, maybe more. And we did many good things. We built many units in this time, many units. And we took, we upgrade our special forces. We built things, and we took new amlach,
ammunitions.
ammunitions, and tanks, and
You were part of the upgrading of the military.
of planning and
Of planning.
organizing the units.
When did you retire?
In 2010. In that time, we also cut many of the ground forces because there was not enough money. We always had to cut. So we cut division, we cut brigades, battalions, many people in the army because of the money. And these forces are forces that we need now.
They
I
were
wish
called
we
up.
had them. I wish we had more tanks, more nagmashim. How do we say?
APCs.
APCs. Nemerim, the protected one. I think in
the
United
ones
States
with
you
the-
have the Abrams.
The
The
Abrams that
Abrams.
has an umbrella cover.
Yeah, this is for anti
Anti-tank
tanks.
missiles, yeah.
Yes, it's called Meil Ruach, the name of it. So
Raincoat. There's also the name in English. In Hebrew, it translates to raincoat. I don't know what the English name for it
raincoat,
is.
yeah,
Raincoat.
exactly,
Okay.
raincoat, Meil Ruach, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think after this war, we have to rebuild the army again, to build many units, many forces, especially in the ground, infantry, armor, many tanks, many special units, many new abilities, a lot of technologies, but not technologies instead of people. We understand now that we need a very big army. We understand that we are surrounded by enemies that are very dangerous, very much alive, very much want to destroy us. So we need a very strong and big army.
And we're saying that the Israelis are saying now that this is our second war of independence. And if we do not succeed here, we will lose that independence that has been so dear to us for 75 years. And we're back fighting it. But the thing is, we all understand that, and we're ready for it.
I think we all understand it. Most of the people in Israel are united.
Yes.
And I think we should keep this war until the end of it. We must win this war. We must win this war. It's not just a word. We have to do it until the end, no matter how long it takes, no matter what victim we pay, because this is the future of Israel. And so I'm very proud to be a part of this IDSF forum. I think we have a big mission now, and we have to talk loud and clear towards Israel and all over the world, and give our concept towards security and Zionism.
Yes.
Together. It goes together.
I have to say that Shosh's frequent panel on Israeli television, I know on Channel 14, I've seen you. I don't know if are you on other stations as well?
Yeah, in
Yes?
11.
In Channel 11. I only go to 14, but the message that Shosh gives, and I think you can see a little of it right now, is so inspiring and so uplifting to the Israelis. And this is one of the messages that the IDSF has been successful in bringing in these very difficult times. People want to be inspired, and people here they carry that inspiration in their hearts, but when you have somebody like Shosh that gives it a release, it does strengthen the resolve and the strength of the Israeli people. Thank you.
Thank you so much.